Thank you, everyone, for subscribing to Infinitely Productions. If you have not done so, please click the bell and subscribe, and we hope you enjoy our content.
Gotta really feel sorry for her. A mob mistress is a woman that goes out with a married man, knows everything about his business, must keep her mouth shut, and for keeping her mouth shut, she's well paid.
Arlyne made it a point to sleep with members of every one of New York's 5 major crime families, including mob boss Joe Colombo.
It was a calculated move that I could get involved with every one of them, and that they would always do me a favor. I was very good to them, and they would always do me a favor, I thought, if I ever got into trouble.
Trouble came one summer night in 1964 in the basement of a dirty Times Square bar. Arlyne was used to come-ons from hoodlums of all sorts, but this time, when she turned down a proposition from one mobster acquaintance, he and 3 others gang-raped her. Seeking revenge, Arlyne went first to the wise guys.
Oh, I said to myself, he's going to be punished. They're gonna beat him up, they're gonna kill him, they're gonna this. I mean, after all, I was a mob girl. I had done favors for all these men. Nothing was done. Nothing. They stuck together. And so, from that day on, I said to myself, screw you. I could use another word. I'm gonna get back at every one of you. And so, I set out to get back at them. And when the opportunity came, I got back at them. In spades.
As a mob lady, Arlyne Weiss Brickman was trading on one commodity: sex. Hardly an original strategy, but it got her in with the wise guys and into the life she wanted to lead. After the brutal rape, however, Arlyne wanted revenge, and she used American justice to get it. She turned to a new commodity: information. The kind of information that only a mob lady can provide. American Justice returns now with Mob Ladies here on A&E. Revenge, a time-honored mafia principle. Years after she was raped in Times Square and her wise guy connections had done nothing about it, mob lady Arlyne Weiss Brickman would turn to American Justice, become an informant to get her revenge.
Here was a chance to get back at them without them even knowing. So why shouldn't I do it?
By 1969, Arlyne was in her late 30s, living in a Fort Lee, New Jersey apartment just outside New York City, but still with the wise guys. She was having an affair with a small-time racketeer named Tommy Zito. Zito and his buddies in the Genovese crime family ran a numbers racket, an illegal betting operation based on horse racing results. Arlyne began running the racket with Tommy and storing up information she planned to use one day when the time was right.
The more I had on them, the more I could get further in the mob. I could blackmail them and get away with it.
But Arlyne and Tommy made mistakes. They dumped betting slips in the trash. Neighbors found them and turned them over to police. They were busted.
And so we became very lax. And in the number business, or any business with the mob, you can't become lax.
When it came time to pay Arlyne's bail, her mother came through with the $15,000. Tommy got a year in prison, while Arlyne got off with probation. She went home and went right back into the numbers racket. But Tommy still owed money to loan sharks, money he had borrowed to cover his own gambling debts. Arlyne couldn't afford the weekly interest payments, so she stopped paying. Some of the money Tommy had borrowed came from a rising star in the Gambino family named John Gotti. Nobody got away with welching on Gotti. When Tommy got out of prison on work release, a pair of Gotti's goons caught up with him on a street in Fort Lee and beat him up. Then the mob started making threats against Arlyne's teenage daughter.
When I stopped paying, they came to the house, and they were going to hurt Leslie. They were going to rape her, they were going to kill her, they were going to everything, because she was the love of my life.
For Arlyne, the time had come to cash in her mob lady chips. She contacted the police detective who had arrested her and said she had some information for him. Arlyne had the goods on so many mobsters, the FBI was also interested. The Bureau needed an insider who could help them break up the loan shark racket. They wanted Arlyne to wear a wire. No problem.
I didn't give a if I wore a wire. I didn't care what I did as long as I got these people off my back and they weren't going to hurt Leslie.
Arlyne jumped right into her new racket, informing on mobsters she'd known for years. And when she told the FBI she didn't want to be harassed by Brooklyn loan sharks anymore, they gave her money to pay off Tommy Zito's loans.
And then I had learned about the most important thing, that from the government you can get money. I mean, I was getting money from the mob guys. I was getting money from the government.
When the feds went after the loan sharks Arlyne was secretly taping, the mob lady left New Jersey for her own safety. She joined up with her old wise guy boyfriend, Tommy Zito, in Atlantic Beach, Long Island. Zito was now trafficking cocaine and heroin. Arlyne helped him out, taking cash payments from street dealers. But she was playing both sides of the street and ratting on drug dealers to the feds.
And I became involved with the DEA, and I did put away some drug dealers, but not little drug dealers, big drug dealers.
Including this man, Billy Ricciuti, a mob-connected marijuana dealer who Arlyne first did business with and then turned into the DEA. Arlyne's work as an informant was kept secret, so the mob had no idea what she was doing. But the drug business took its toll when Arlyne's daughter Leslie turned into a heroin addict.
I found myself running on the Lower East Side looking for Leslie at different heroin places where, you know, they would hide out and they would shoot it up and I would scream and I would carry on.
To make matters worse, Tommy had not learned his lesson and kept piling up gambling debts, including $90,000 to the Colombo family loan sharks.
And they couldn't find Tommy Zito. So I had to make the payments. I wasn't going to make no payments.
So Arlyne went to New York City police, who decided, along with the FBI, that Arlyne could be instrumental in building a case against the Colombo family, including loan shark Vinnie Manzo and his boss, Anthony Scarpati. The FBI sent Agent Oliver Halley out to Queens to meet with the mob lady.
The door opened, and she said, "You must be Oliver." And I said, "Yes, I am." And she said, "I hope you brought lots of money."
The feds offered Arlyne $500 a week to help them get the Colombos. But this would be her last gig as a mob turncoat, because this time she would have to testify in open court as a witness. Arlyne took the job and began making loan shark payments in full view of FBI surveillance cameras. She was a natural.
You didn't have to worry about Arlyne, or you didn't have to make sure that somebody was watching every move that she made, because she could handle it. Very few women, I think, could fit that mold, that could do what she did.
Arlyne put together very valuable information. She got Vinnie Manzo talking about the structure of the Colombo family. Manzo told her that Carmine Persico was the head, and Scarpati, a lieutenant or capo, a golden nugget in their case against the family. Now the feds wanted direct evidence that Scarpati was collecting on the loans. So they told Arlyne to insist on making payments to him and not his underling, Vinnie Manzo. Manzo finally agreed and told Arlyne that Scarpati would be waiting in a candy store at this intersection in Brooklyn. But Scarpati was not so easy to nail.
Scarpetta never showed up for the payments. He had a dummy pretend he was him. And I said to the FBI, says, "How can we get him?"
In front of this Brooklyn pizza parlor, the FBI got its break when an undercover agent walked by, just as Manzo was telling his boss that Arlyne was still refusing to pay anyone but him. The agent overheard something crucial.
Basically, we knew we had heard Scarpati say to Manzo, "What is the problem? She owes us the money." And he heard this statement, basically, and that statement alone tied Scarpati in to Arlyne.
Arlyne finally got her chance to testify against Scarpati and others in 1986. One last chance for revenge and a lesson in the ways of American justice.
It had to be impressed upon Arlyne that her job as a witness was not to charm people in the way that she might on the street, but to relate facts accurately that corresponded back to what we already had on tape. And that was a challenge for Arlyne because she had never had to do that before.
When Arlyne walked into the courtroom, she was scared. Facing her were 10 men, all members of the Colombo family, several whom Arlyne had ratted on to the FBI. When she looked at Anthony Scarpati, her mob lady instincts got the best of her, temporarily.
I said to myself, what the hell am I doing here? And I became sexually attracted all of a sudden to this man. And I was saying to myself, did I do the right thing? Was this entrapment? Was this? I mean, all of a sudden I got a conscience with the Colombo family.
But Arlyne came through, beating back efforts by defense attorneys to discredit her character by pointing to her life as a mob lady.
During one of the breaks in the trial while she was testifying, Anthony Scarpati's lawyer came out to me and said, you know, I've been practicing law for 40 years, and I'd like to know what sewer you pulled her out of. He said, I have never met somebody like her. And I said, yeah, but she's telling the truth, and that's the important thing.
Arlyne testified for 4 days. Scarpati was convicted of loan sharking and racketeering and got a 35-year sentence. It was Arlyne's testimony that was instrumental in putting him and several other Colombo family members away.
By itself, her information was of no value. But coupled with the other investigative techniques that we used in that case, it proved that she was telling the truth.
After the trial, the government offered Arlyne a place in the Witness Protection Program. She turned it down, left New York, and went into seclusion. Her daughter Leslie was dying of AIDS, likely a result of her years of heroin addiction.
I didn't take care of her the way I really should have. Maybe if I watched her more closely, who knows? But I can say one thing. In the last 4 years of Leslie's life, I was a good mother. I was a damn good mother.
Leslie's death left Arlyne alone with her memories of that mob girl, the young beauty the wise guys wanted, the smart, connected woman the government needed.
Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to our channel and check out more content. Feel free to give us your feedback and suggestions on who we should do next in the comments. This is Infinitely Productions. We love ya.